Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Darkira and I am a huge fan of Overwatch. I started on PS4 with the open beta in 2016 and I have been playing religiously ever since. As a PS4 Overwatch player, the console versions of the games and their communities don't really get talked about. And as someone who has switched from console to PC, I realized that there weren't many videos talking about that experience either. So, I wanted to take some time from streaming to make some videos to help those players that are thinking about switching or upgrading to PS5, or maybe they just want to know what the team scene or environment for PS4 was like. Well, today we're going to start talking about it. Before we get started, please, if you enjoy this content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and if you get a chance, feel free to check out my content on Twitch. Everything's under DarkHero9653. As I said in the beginning, I was mainly a PS4 player until a few weeks ago. I'm actually staff for an organization called Oracle Gaming, and we run tournaments for games, mainly PS4 Overwatch. So I was pretty involved in the community on PS4, and even running and playing in a few teams over the last several years. The PS4 community is varied, and many people are great, and the teams help each other grow. But of course, there is a toxic side of things, and I'm going to touch on that today. With PS4 Overwatch, our community's always been considered the ugly stepchild when it comes to the game. While nowadays the devs seem to consider us all equally, at first, due to Sony's policies, the dev patches were few and far between. PC always got the patches first, especially having access to the PTR, or public test region, for the game that wasn't available on PS4. This always seemed to leave a chip in the shoulders of players. We would suffer for weeks sometimes without patches to fix major problems or oversights. The best example I can give is the Ironclad ability for Bastion. Originally, it let him take 35% less damage while in Sentry or Tank mode. This was released on Tuesday, February 28th of 2017, and was beyond OP. The devs knew quickly. Videos appeared everywhere showing how broken it was, and it was patched within days. Friday, March 3rd to be exact, for PC players. But for those of us on console, well, we had OP Bastion for 3 weeks. A good chunk of players whose SR for comp was ridiculously swayed due to this, and as you would expect, players resented the devs and felt like second-class citizens, an afterthought. Now, mind you, today the devs try and release everything together. They've even added an experimental mode to fix the lack of a PTR. But back then, the community was angry. And unlike PC, where everyone had the ability to communicate immediately, whether that was a good or a bad thing, a lot of console players didn't. Personally, after joining PC myself recently, although the toxicity still remains, it's much more relaxed. And I think a big part of that is the communication. On PS4, if you don't have a mic, well, you're SOL, seeing as our only means of messaging is through PS Messenger, which can basically be turned off and is in no way easy to access or quick enough to give players information. Our players naturally became more toxic over time, pent up rage and aggression and frustration. Many players felt like their SR was more about luck than actual skill. 80 to 90% of games could be filled with toxic players, players who dropped, throwers, smurfs. This was all commonplace, and for many players, the Discord communities for teams became a go-to. These Discord communities would host tournaments specifically for PS4 players, and this format was as close to playing real Overwatch as you would get. While true you didn't have players throwing or dropping anymore, the toxicity carried over. And while many communities tried to push it out, it only made the players more desperate to find a way to vent, which became the infamous PS4 Overwatch Twitter drama, which is still a big part of the community today, even when our numbers dwindle. Teams would go to war with each other, dragging people through the mud for everybody to see. Accusations of cheating, harassment, and actual crimes being committed. And Twitter not really policing it, the expectation for change fell on many of the communities to try and fix. And as these communities leaders toughened up, it only fueled to split the communities as more and more were created to try and relax and have fun, while allowing the toxicity to run rampant, causing allegations of inappropriate actions to skyrocket. All in all, while many of the larger communities still remain, and eventually the smaller ones would disappear as the toxicity became too much for staff and for players, we're left where we are today. Many players are frustrated with PS4 and move to PC for something fresh and what's considered to be official, seeing as winning a PS4 tournament was more about an outlet to really play the game rather than a climb to participate in contenders or OWL, since that doesn't exist for console. Others simply want to walk away from Overwatch based on the lack of updates or anything with the game itself, but many just don't want to be involved in the team scene anymore. And some simply leave because a lot of players are banned across the board for things like inappropriate behavior in chat rooms, smurfing, which PlayStation makes absolutely too easy, all the way up to the inappropriate bear, if you catch my meaning. While the PS4 community still has many players, there are many who have simply left to never return. The long waits for comp are a sign of this. Teams still exist, but the number of fresh faces has dwindled for a long time. Our community is a shell of itself. And while I will say that if you only have PS4 and you want to keep playing, please do. Keep that community alive. But for those of you trying to choose between a PS5 or a PC, if the community is a big deal to you, I'd say PC for now. Otherwise, best bet is to see what happens with Overwatch 2, because in my opinion, that may be PlayStation Overwatch's last hope for redemption. So, guys, was your experience with PS4 Overwatch different? If so, be sure to leave a comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyway, I hope you liked the video, found it informative. If you guys want links to some of the remaining leaks, I will leave those down in the description below and you guys can check those out. And if you want to see my progress on PC, check me out on Twitch. I hope to see you guys next time. See ya.